Hello, my name is Rachel and I'm here today to film a bit of a chatty TBR video for the next 3 or 4 months. So if you don't know, I live in Switzerland at the moment and I'm hoping to move back to England in the month of April. And I have a lot of books here that I still haven't read. And when I move home, those books are going to go back into the general populace of unread books in my room, which is a lot. When other people talk about their unread or their TBR and it's so hard because they have like 100 or 200 books on the TBR, I just find it funny because I have a lot more than that. I don't have a problem with it. I like having a lot of books that I haven't read because then I've always got something new to read and I've always got choices because I don't like to read from the same genres very much. So the small TBR wouldn't really work for me. However, I do have, how many books have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 books that I don't want to go into the general circulation of my room when I get home. I don't want to go home to England and these books just get put back on the shelf and then me not read them for a while because they are all books that I really want to read. They're all classics that I've been hoping to read for a long time and that I just haven't got to yet. So these are my top priority classic reads to get to before I move back to England. So I thought I would just show you them today because chatting about them will get me excited to read them again, which is what I want because I want to read them soon. So yeah, I'm just going to get started with showing them to you. I'm already making good progress because I have started Anna Karenina already. I am 51 pages into this at the moment and this is a book that I wanted to read last year and didn't get to and that I'm hoping to read this year instead. So obviously Anna Karenina follows Anna Karenina and this other guy who I have met at the moment. Anna Karenina's not actually been in the book yet, up to where I've read, but the other guy, Levin, that's what he's called, his story kind of weaves into Anna Karenina's story as well, and I've met him already, and his storyline is quite interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely hoping to continue with this, and this is one that I feel like I'll just read a few chapters of every month and then hopefully finish it by the end of April or have at least read enough of it that I'm like, that book is fucking huge and I've read so much of it, I cannot give up on me reading it and then finish it. So that is the first one and obviously I'm already reading it, so that's good. The next book that I'm hoping to get to is Persuasion by Jane Austen. So my goal last year was to read all of Jane Austen's works in publication order and that did work really well. I was really enjoying it. I did enjoy that I was reading them in publication order because I just think there is such a leap between her books, between something like Northanger Abbey, which I'd say is quite simple when you compare it to Sense and Sensibility, but Sense and Sensibility goes about certain character and plot devices in a, I don't know, kind of a stumbling way that I feel like she really comes into her own on in Pride and Prejudice and has learnt from the kind of things that didn't work as well with Sense and Sensibility. She's like perfected them for Pride and Prejudice because those stories are very similar in certain ways. And so I was really enjoying reading them in publication order. However, the next one that I have to read, if it's in publication order, is Mansfield Park, and it's the only one that I'm just like, I just don't know if I'm gonna like this, and so I find it really hard to push myself to read it. So I've decided I'm just going to read the one that I want to read, and the one that I really want to read at the moment is Persuasion. But Persuasion follows Anne Elliot, and she was meant to marry someone, and I think her family said, you can't marry him. Captain Wentworth. Yeah, her family said, you can't marry him, even though she loved him, and so she didn't, and he left town. And then the book starts 8 years later when they are basically thrown back together, and I think it's all about like, is that relationship still there? Is that love still there? Will they get together? Will they not? That sort of thing. So this always just sounds really good to me and I feel like I would really enjoy it. So yeah, that's the next Jane Austen I want to read. Following that, I have 2 dystopian books I want to read. So if you've been watching my channel, you might know that I was writing Novel Over 2018. I finished my first draft, which I was very happy with. But that story is a dystopian story, and the things that I'm having issues with are world building and the sort of political system and governing body. But one of the issues I find is that I haven't read a lot of dystopian fiction, and I think because I haven't read a lot of it, I kind of need to read it and get a feel for it and see how other writers deal with it and then go from there. So I have 2 books that I think are going to be really helpful. The first one is 1984 by George Orwell. I want to pick this one up because I feel like this will really help with the political system and the governing body, because I hear about this all the time in the surveillance and Big Brother, and yeah, just this like unseen but always there governing top of the chain sort of thing. So I feel like this will be really, really great. And I don't want to keep this book because I have a really nice Penguin Modern Classics version of 1984, so I may as well read this and then I can get rid of it to a charity shop before I leave Switzerland. So yeah, there's that one. And the other one is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, which I think will be really good for world building. This is about a girl called Offred, and she is a handmaid to a family, and a handmaid basically means that you're like the breeder for the family, I think. Obviously I've not read it, so I can't really say much more than that because I've not seen the TV show either. I feel like reading more dystopian is really going to help me figure out what I'm doing with my story. So that's why I really want to read some more dystopian this year, which I know I've been saying for a while, but I actually feel like I need to do it now that I've finished my first draft. So yeah, I've got those 2. The next one I have is just a little small book. It's called The Lonely Londoners and it's by Sam Selvon. So on the back of this one, it says it's about a group of people who arrive from the West Indies in London. They arrive at Waterloo Station and they're basically trying to get jobs and stuff in 1950s London. It's all about how they get on with the natives who can be less than friendly at the sight of a black face. I think it's all just about community and acceptance and also racism, and it just sounds really, really interesting. I haven't heard a lot about this on BookTube or anything, so I don't really know what people's thoughts on this book are, but I think it sounds great, so I'm gonna read it. After that we have The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy. So during Victober I did a try a chapter challenge and I read the first chapter of this book and it sounded amazing. So this follows a guy who sells his wife and child when he's drunk in a pub because he's like, they're too much hassle. Anyone want to buy them? I don't want them anymore. And someone does buy them. And then he basically goes on to live his life. He goes to a new town and he becomes a respected pillar of the community of Casterbridge. However, his shameful past comes back to haunt him, which I'm guessing means that his wife and daughter must come back, but I'm not sure. But this sounds amazing. I ended up not picking it up because I picked up another Thomas Hardy instead because I really wanted to read Two on a Tower. But I really feel like I'm ready to read this and it sounds amazing and just like it's gonna be so dramatic that I can't wait for it. So there's that one. Then we have another book that I don't hear a lot about but that I think is actually way more famous than I knew of when I bought it, and that is Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. So this has a quote from Nelson Mandela on the front of it, which means it's gotta be pretty friggin' popular. However, I never hear it talked about. So I don't know why that is, but it sounds amazing. So on the back of this, it says, Okonkwo is one of the greatest men alive. He is one of the most powerful men of his clan, and he has a really fiery temper, and he is determined to not be like his father, who I think was seen as weak. So he refuses to show weakness to anyone, and he only masters his feelings through his fists. And when outsiders threaten the traditions of his clan, Okonkwo takes violent action. Will the great man's dangerous pride eventually destroy him? I think that sounds fantastic. This sounds like a really character-driven, but like passionate feelings kind of book, and I just think it sounds so good. I mean, usually I don't like mass paperbacks because they are normally really small. However, the writing isn't actually small in this one, it's just the book that's a bit smaller, so I feel like I'll be okay with it. I don't like it when it's the writing inside that's small. Okay, I've got 2 more to show you. The first one is Mariana by Monica Dickens. So I went visiting the Persephone shop in London a few years ago, but I've only read one of the books that I bought there. I bought 3. And one of them was Cheerful Weather for a Wedding, something like that, which I read and I really enjoyed. I thought it was great. And I picked this one up and I've still not read it, and it's one of the most beautiful books that I own. I think the Persephone books that are all grey or silver, however you look at it, are really, really beautiful, but the painted ones are just to die for. I adore them. I think they're so beautiful. So Monica Dickens, I think, is the granddaughter of Charles Dickens. Where is the thing? There is a quote on this book that is the reason that I actually bought it, and I don't know. Oh, I think it's the inside. Right, so there is a quote on the inside cover from this book, and it is the reason that I bought this book. I think it sounds amazing. So this is a quote from somewhere within it. It says, "I want to have my hair bobbed, please," she said in scarcely more than a whisper to the girl behind the desk. Mary went away and had a cup of tea and a rock cake. All round her, women were eating ham teas. They nearly all had short hair. She wondered whether they had gone through these pangs before they bobbed it, or whether their husbands had laughingly clapped a basin over their heads one fine Putney day and run a pair of scissors around as casually as they would trim the garden hedge. I just think that sounds amazing. And then there's a quote from the preface that Harriet Lane did that says, a plot that would probably ring some bells with a certain Bridget Jones. Again, a great thing for me. And it just sounds amazing. It's about a woman who is kind of reaching maturity during the 1930s in England. She's in Kensington. I feel like I'm not explaining well what this is about, which I'm just not going to do really, because I never describe anything well. But this book just is so beautiful and it sounds so amazing, and it sounds very like a woman coming of age and sort of coming to terms with the fact that she is surrounded by a world where men sort of are above her, but that, like, I think it's around that sort of a premise, which is what I really want. So yeah, this sounds great. I'm really sorry if it doesn't sound great to you. It's definitely me being shit at describing it and not that the book doesn't sound good. And then the final book, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this 1,000 times on this channel. This is probably one of the first books I ever mentioned on this channel on TBR, and I've still not read it, and it's still number 1 on my TBR. It's still the book that I want to read the most in the world, and I've still not frigging read it at this point, so it annoys me, and it's why I brought it here, and I refuse to leave this country if I've not read it. I just refuse. Because I've wanted to read it for too long now. And it is Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. So this book is about a man called Humbert Humbert who is obsessed with a young girl called Lolita, and I mean young. And he is attracted to her. This is often talked about as a book that kind of pushes limits, and people don't like it because obviously there's themes of paedophilia in here. However, I think those kind of taboo topics really make for interesting reading, like seeing someone examine like why something's taboo and all that sort of stuff. I just think it'll be really interesting. And one of the big reasons that I've always wanted to read this is that Lana Del Rey is one of my favourite artists of all time. I just love her music so much, and she always quotes this book. She has a song called Lolita. She has lines from the book as lyrics in her songs, not just in the Lolita song but in a lot of her songs. I don't know, she just has this fascination with this book that seems to come into her lyrics a lot. And yeah, because I'm such a big fan of her songs, it would be great to like have another dimension to that. So yeah, there are a few reasons that I want to read this book, and it has just been at the top of my TBR for way too long, and I've wanted to read it for too long. So yeah, Rachel's not leaving Switzerland if she's not read this book, so better get on that. So yeah, that is my little, oh no wait, there's some over here. That is my little pile of books that I want to finish before I leave Switzerland. It seems like a lot when I carry it like this, but to be fair, I have about 3 months left here and I've already started one of them, so let's hope that's enough. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to finish all of them, but I just don't want to move home and put them with all my other books because I have so many books that I've been waiting to be in England to read, and so I just feel like they might get pushed further back, and they're all books that I want to read so much now. So I just feel like the only way I'm going to read them soon is if I get to them before I leave Switzerland, so that's what I need to do. So yes, that was a mess of a video and a chat, but if you've read any of these books, please comment down below like what you think I should start first, or just give me some big positives about them that will make me read them immediately, because I really want to read them immediately. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!